What's up, cycling junkies? We're back with a July episode of Pack Chatter. It's midsummer, it's race season, and we got lots of fun stuff going on. Today's guest is really cool, great story. I'm really excited to get you into that. Before we start, let's hit the sponsors. So we'll start with NISBRA, the New York State Bicycle Racing Association. NISBRA is responsible for all the behind-the-scene works in racing in New York State, from grants to upgrades to officials to scheduling to state championships. All of that good stuff happens because of the hardworking folks at the New York State Bicycle Racing Association. So hit them up on their website for lots of great resources at nisbra.com, or hit them up on Facebook and show them some love. We are also sponsored by Legacy Bikes. That's Legacy with an I, Legaci bikes.com. Legacy Bikes has all your balance bike needs for any little one under 6 years old. Get them up and started right on two wheels with a balance bike, no training wheels, none of that stuff. And they're starting a cool program where they're doing custom painted frames on those balance bikes, so you can get your kid just the colors that he or she loves, to make sure they love the sport as much as you do. We're also sponsored by the Burning Bike Mountain Bike Festival, coming up in just a little over a week in Ontario County Park. We've got 2 days of riding and racing coming at you there. The first day has all kinds of games and rides and raffles, food trucks, nice bonfire party at night, camping. And then the second day, we've got food trucks again, and we got a race coming at you. So get signed up for that race on Bike Reg under Burning Bike Mountain Bike Race. Come out and race some single track at a really cool park in Western New York, and get a couple good days of family-friendly riding and mountain bike love. All right. So today's guest is Danny Estevez. Danny has a really amazing story, and he talks a lot about sort of his upbringing in the sport, and losing track of it for a while, and now coming back and racing at the pro ranks again. Came up through the legendary Hot Tubes program that's produced some of the best American cyclists in ever, and still continues to. And how that kind of brought him through his junior years, and then how he got back into the sport after some time off, along with some success in business and education in his personal life. And now he's coming back, and he's racing really well, looking at guest riding for Butcher Box, and doing a lot of really fun stuff. And just a really humble, inspiring guy who has just raced at some really high levels and has some real great insight. So it was a real pleasure to be able to talk to him and hear his story, and I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I did. So without further ado, here is the man, Danny Estevez.
You'll never go out on a training ride and dig that deep.
Awesome. We won gold.
They're life rides.
I'm like, dude, I'm still figuring this out.
Lose sight of the fact that it's whoever goes faster.
This isn't a road race. This isn't a mountain bike race.
The sensei of sprint, Todd Shesky.
My eyes are coming out of my head. Just get in here.
All right, well, tonight we have Daniel Estevez with us, and it's a really cool opportunity to be able to sit down with Danny on this show. He's just a fantastic athlete, and comes from a really rich history already, and just in his cycling, but also in his professional life outside of cycling as well, and just a really great story. So we're really honored to have him here with us tonight. So welcome to the show, Danny.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me. Really appreciate the time.
Yeah, awesome. So, well, let's kick things off a little bit here. We'll start where you are, and then we'll go back a little bit and get a little bit of your history. So you've been really racing a lot the last 2 years, especially. And you and I working together on some of that, and just your trajectory up has been fantastic. And so maybe tell us a little bit, like, what got you kind of rocking here 2 years ago? What spurred the comeback, if you will?
Yes. So 2 years ago, December 2017, December 31st to be exact. I took a picture of myself in front of a mirror, and I was weighing 203 pounds back then, and I was really heavy. I was at a very dark place physically, mentally, and health-wise, I wasn't doing very well. I was diagnosed with high blood pressure, high stress, and that actually affected my daily living. And from that day forward, that same day, I actually, right after that, taking that picture and getting that information from my doctor, I went ahead and decided to go back to the basics and do something about my personal well-being. And I decided to go out and go buy a Wahoo trainer so that I can start riding at home because I didn't have much time to train. But I definitely wanted to get back on the bike just for exercise after so many years of being off the bike. And little by little with Zwift and so much technology nowadays and the sort of interaction you get through Zwift, which I learned that year. So, I bought the Wahoo, bought myself a bike, enrolled in Zwift, and little by little with their training plans and racing and all that stuff with them, I sort of, that spark of competing came back. So I trained on Zwift from literally January 1st until Todd and I got working together around like the end of March, sort of April of 2018. And then that's when really my racing career again sort of kicked off. As soon as I started working with Coach Todd, my performance increased tremendously and super rapid. It was something that I couldn't even think about what I did in 2018 with just 2 months of quality training. But yeah, it's been super fun ever since. Physically, mentally, I'm way stronger. I'm now weighing 160 pounds. So from 203 pounds, I'm now 160. Racing competitively and, getting top 5 finishes in most of the races I've done this year, which is phenomenal. So
yeah, and these aren't little races either. You're doing the national calendar races on these things, and it's been and really put your name back out there again. And being able to come back quickly, and I think a lot of people have been a little bit surprised, maybe even that, and people have not, they didn't recognize it was the same Daniel Estevez. That's happened. I think it's happened to you at least on occasion, and it's happened to me when somebody was like, "Who is that?" And and because it was so quick, and you were gone for what, 6-7 years with no riding at all.
Yeah, I was gone for 10 years exactly.
Wow.
Without touching a bike.
Yeah, that's
So
my last yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, my last day on a bike was let's see, before 2017 as a 19-year-old when I raced for Saconnet. And Somerville was actually my last race, like 10 years before that.
So you had a really strong junior career, and I want to talk a little bit about that and kind of give everybody the background for people who don't know you and your story, and then kind of get back into maybe the stuff with Todd and the coaching end too, because I think we got kind of two really interesting things that we want to kind of mine out. So can you tell us sort of where you started before this 10-year layoff, like how you got into the sport originally, and talk a little bit about your junior career?
Of course. So cycling has been a part of my life since I was born. My father, he used to race back in the day, 70s, 80s. That was sort of his era. In Dominican Republic, the Caribbean, he was a selection of the Dominican national team. back in those days, and he sort of showed me the ropes. I mean, as a cycling father, his dream was for me to be better than him and take the sport on and, go far with it. And that's exactly what happened. And at the age of 9, he sort of introduced me to it. I tried every single sport before 9 years old and ended up sticking to bike racing. So at the age of 9, I did my first race. I started mountain biking. That was how I started my cycling career. For the next 3 years after that, so from 9 until 11 and a half, I was national champion, Dominican national champion, 3 times back to back. Then after that, that's when I came to the United States. And my family brought me here for a better future. And then at the age of 14, I picked up cycling here again in the U.S. through a Colombian friend of mine who I still keep in touch with. So he got me back on. And then I raced solo for about a year and a half. So I entered as a Cat 5 racer in 2014, and I won every single Cat 5 race I entered. Then they bumped me up to they bumped me up to Cat 4 that same year. I won every single Cat 4 race in the Northeast. And then because of how quickly I rose up through the ranks, Toby from Hot Tube Cycling Development pulled me aside and asked me to join the team when I was 15 years old.
Wow.
So then I did 3 years with Hot Tubes. I was actually the first ever 16-year-old on the team because his team was primarily 17, 18. And I was the first 16-year-old, and I did 3 years with him. I won a whole bunch of races, including the Long Show, the points there. I did really well overall as a junior racer in the United States. I was actually ranked first back when the LaJours point system was in place. I don't know if it still is.
No, they did away with that a few years ago due to other circumstances.
Oh yeah, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, so
yes.
So back then I was actually ranked first in road racing, crits, and circuit races. I think was another road races, crits, and circuit races. I was ranked first. So just so you guys have an idea of who I competed against back then. We had the TJ Van Gardens, the Peter Stetnas, the Alex House, Ben King was on my team back then, and a bunch of other, Daniel Holloway, even Justin Williams now. We are all sort of the same age, but those are still some of the guys that I competed against back then. That I can mention that were sort of also at the top of Shane Klein, amongst others.
Yeah, that's an amazing program and amazing sort of group to be a part of. What was it like being on that team and sort of a part of that program as a young rider?
I mean, it was actually super humbling to make it because that team has such a rich history. Dating back to 1988. That's when the team was first established, and the names that went on that team to be pros, and it was actually humbling to be part of that team. It was an honor at the time. So for me, every time I suited up as a Hot Tubes rider, it was more than just being in a race. I had to protect the legacy of the team. I always really cared about all of that because the team meant so much to me. And I think That's what really made me to the rider that I am today. Because everything I do, I try to do it well, and with them, meant a lot that Toby took me into consideration, not really knowing who I was, but I guess I demonstrated good character, and he really enjoyed my story, and gave me an opportunity. So it's definitely a humbling story to be part of that team.
Yeah, and I think and I think you and I have talked a little bit about that too. Is how much influence Toby had on not just you in your racing career, just but even personally through that developing and taking that interest in and getting you on this team as well. You were the youngest rider at that time, but he had more of an influence than just cycling as well.
Right. No, and a lot of people don't really see that side. A lot of people don't see that side because obviously they just know Toby for what he does in the sport with the team. But Toby has been sort of an instrument in my life that because of him and his mentoring skills, I'm able to be in the position that I am today as a business owner, as a college grad, and the list goes on. So the emphasis that he puts on with every single Hot Tubes alumni that goes on his team goes beyond just pedaling a bike. And that's what a lot of people don't see because they just see Toby for being a dominant force in the junior category with Hot Tubes,
Right.
but it goes beyond that. And I think that's what I appreciate so much beyond him giving me the opportunity to race for his team. It's actually pretty amazing what he does. To stay in touch with hundreds of people and be sort of a key part of their life, it's unbelievable how he manages that. I mean, I think I was still with Coach Todd when I did Rochester, when he called me when we were driving up to picking up our numbers. And he was in Europe, I think, actually, if I'm not mistaken. And from Europe, he called me and saying, "Now you're racing tonight, right?" And the conversation went along, about I need you to kick everybody's behind and keep facing what you're doing. So just motivational talks like that really matter, and I definitely have appreciated that throughout the years. And I just want you guys to understand that it's been 12 years that I haven't been part of the team.
Right.
And still, he stays in touch, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think and it says a lot about I think people like Toby that run programs like that, and it's when cycling is such a passion, and you have the same passion, and then you try to pass that on to other people, and and I've run junior camps and still in touch with the guys that I had at camps a lot of times, and when some of them have come to Rochester, and they always reach out and always say hello or ride up, and it's and I don't have as close relationships with them because I don't run teams with them and stuff, but it's really gratifying and a cool aspect I think of our sport is to be able to do that and to have that influence, and the fact that 12 years on and he knows you're racing that night and gave you a call and just to give you a couple words of encouragement, and that he's watching, and that stuff I think it is highly influential, and it's and I think it speaks really highly of the Hot Tubes program. I mean, been running for a long time. It's such a great reputation, but like you said, a side that people don't normally see of that.
And he may not be the only person that does that. There may be other people that do the same thing he does. Mm-hmm. But I mean, for him and the sponsors of the team, and that's why they have stuck around so many years sponsoring the team, is because they believe his method of, I guess, guiding all the riders on the team, whether it is educationally, how he did with me, after hot tubes, or whether it is by getting guys on proteins. It all depends where you want to take your, I guess, career, what
Right.
trajectory you want to go on, and he will help you with any of either of those.
Right.
And I think a lot of people, so he uses the cycling platform to get kids, to allow kids to be successful in their future. Yes, they do race, but there's a lot more that he teaches while they're on the team about personal care, hygiene, how to, have independent living skills, how to be a true professional in the sport, how to be a professional outside of the sport. I think those are notable things that he really focuses on. So,
Right.
but yeah.
And do you think that I mean, because you went on to do some collegiate cycling, so you got a degree as well, and went on to graduate
Yeah.
school too, if I'm not mistaken. And you think a lot of that played in, a lot of that influence played into your decision to go to school and kind of that trajectory that you took there?
Yeah, that definitely. So when my last year as a hot tubes rider, um, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I definitely wanted to be a professional. I wanted to make it into the pro ranks, but um, there were certain things that happened that didn't allow me to make it as a professional. There were a lot of details, that I missed, especially that year, that didn't allow me to. But he had a second option for me, and I think the second option was the best one because of how I grew up and how humble my family is. He wanted me to just be more than a professional bike racer. He knew that I would be better off having an educational career,
Hmm.
which would then open doors for the rest of my family and my brothers to also go to school and sort of be an example. Because in the Hispanic community is actually uh, difficult for it was difficult for me to go to college because I didn't have the financial, you know,
Sure.
I didn't meet that, so financially my family, if they made $30,000 a year as a family was a lot.
Right.
And so college is super expensive. We didn't have the money. And Toby helped me that year land a full scholarship with a school that was giving out full scholarships for cycling, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
And this was years ago. I want to say like 7 years ago, more than that. When he got me on, and because of that opportunity that he was able to help me with, so I did 2 years at Lindsey Wilson College in Kentucky,
Hmm.
with everything paid for. I did some collegiate racing with them. I actually went on to win for the first time ever in their conference, like their conference championship, which
Right.
the school had never achieved before. This was a school that Tim Johnson went to as well, just
Ah.
so you guys have an idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think he did a full year there,
Okay.
before he went on to be like a professional a bike racer for, you know, a whole lot of years.
Right.
Um, so he has ties to that school. And then I came on years after and did what I did for them. So I did 2 years with them. And then 2 years after, my scholarship was taken away for unclear reasons. I didn't get in trouble or anything like that. They just didn't renew it for whatever reason. And then there was Toby again with another backup for me. So he helped me through that situation and got me going to Clark University in Worcester, Mass, which is a well-known school in the Northeast, academically at least, not for their sports or anything, but and that's where I finished off my educational career. Again, on a full scholarship, because of some work that he did in the background, which I'm truly thankful for. So to
Yeah.
this day, I can, thank him for, I don't have a school loan to pay for, and I got a free education, which is huge. So,
Yeah, I
so
mean
that
it's
was sort of the history around that.
it's a lot of background work and a lot of work on your part too. I mean, you're racing, you're going to school, and and you're trying to
Yeah,
maintain scholarships, and it's a lot. It's a lot
it
to
was
handle.
hard. It was really hard to manage, and especially in a place that like I never been to before. So I didn't get a tour of this college. I didn't go visit, nothing. I literally took a plane 3 days before classes started and just sort of landed there.
Wow.
So it was unbelievable. But here we are. So
Yeah, no, it's a big deal. And you went on, and then and you got done with school, and you started your own business as well.
yeah, so after I graduated Clark, that's when I, invested some money that I had saved and I was able to put uh, my own business. And right now, I currently own an adult day healthcare center for frail adults and seniors. So we do daily care for folks that are all over the spectrum, whether it is mentally or physically.
Yeah,
So
that and
um,
what kind of inspired that, motivated that? I mean, it's not something that people would commonly, at least most people I know, wouldn't say, hey, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna start a business that does this. What kind of drove that?
yeah, yeah. So I always had a passion of helping people. I just didn't know where, how, which type of services I wanted to do that will get that goal of mine accomplished.
Hmm.
So I did a lot of brainstorming for a few years, because before I put my business, I worked for the state of Massachusetts,
Okay.
as a service coordinator in the Department of Children and Families. In other states, it's called like DSS, the Department of Social Services. I mean, there's different names for that
Sure.
department in different states. So I worked there, and I was able to work hands-on with families in need, and it was humbling to help them achieve their goals. And it definitely put a smile on my face. So I found gratitude in that, and it made me feel good that I was helping people in need. So, and that's something that I always wanted to do. So, and I also worked for an agency that took care of seniors. So, I worked with kids, worked with seniors, and at the end of it all, I decided like, I think it would be really cool if I started my own thing and kind of do it my way. Um, so that's what I did. I was able to put this program together that enabled me to care for, I mean, not so, folks not that young, but I'm still able to care for people that are obviously younger than me now and help their families by caring for them. And, it's truly humbling to see, where we've come from, starting with 3 clients. And right now we're up to around between, 50 and 60 a day.
Wow.
And, so this was our first day of operations was 4 years ago. So in
Wow.
just a short 4 years, we've grown slow but steady, you know.
Yeah, but
And,
it's
Um,
and how old are you, Danny? Because I think you're pretty young to be this
yeah,
successful in business still, right? So
I
just so everybody
am.
knows,
I'm 30 years old.
yeah, just 30, and you're
Yeah,
already this
just
successful. So
30.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. No, thank you. It's been a lot of work. I've actually was nominated this year. I was also the founding member of of Synergy Wellness Center. So I put that together with a different business partner last year. So I was also co-founder of that. So it's a wellness center that provides yoga, holistic services, massage therapy, amongst other things. So the Worcester Business Journal, they have like a fraternity of like the best entrepreneurs under 40 years old. So this year I was able to make that list.
Wow.
And which was truly like super cool.
Yeah.
So
and you've got
I'm part of
you've
this
got
list.
yeah, and you got 10 more years to be on the list too. So
Exactly, yeah.
you
So
didn't just sneak in.
yeah, so it's pretty cool that I guess the work that I have done, people have noticed, and it's really cool when other people really like, get to see your hard efforts, whether it is in the business world or on the bike. And I think it is really amazing. I don't know how I find the time, to be honest with you, to mix both, to be super competitive on the bike and also be recognized for the services I provide in the business world. It's a really tough balance, and then be a full-time dad as well, because I have 3 kids and a wife sitting at home. So juggling all of that, and I don't know how I do it, but I find a way.
Yeah,
So,
you certainly do, and more than just finding a way. I mean, it's to really excel in those, and I think it really speaks a lot to your work ethic, your pursuit of being excellent in those things as well. And but I think maybe even beyond that, and I think this is part of your makeup, and I think it is part of things that maybe as far as your family being important to you, as far as Toby being important to you, and the relationships that you create are also kind of the primary to all of those things, and you kind of tend to those things as a primary focus, and then the other things are these ancillary outcomes of hard work, but having that basis of those relationships. It seems really apparent, and all that you do is that these people in your life are really important. And
yeah, so relationships mean everything to me. I mean, that's how how you treat someone, it's how you're gonna be judged for who you are. And I I try to be the best of me, and whether people like it or not, just try to give my 100%. In along the way, there's hardships that come in that may prevent you from things that you want to accomplish, or negative people that try to get in your way, telling you can't do it and this and that. But just finding a way to always push through and treat people with kindness, and no, I think if we had more of that, I think this world will be a different place. So.
yeah, certainly, and I think drawing that distinction too, and it's something that I think is always is an interesting thing with people that are superior elite athletes, and then you're one of the best out there, and when it's race time, it's go time, and you're not giving up any spots in the corner. I'll say that.
No,
You're not giving up any spots in the
definitely
sprint,
not.
right? I mean, so but
No.
but being able to turn that off when it's not in a competition phase, I think is important too. I think sometimes people can take that too far, right? Where
Yeah.
it becomes, competing on the bike is great, and being a fierce competitor is great, and it wins you things. But being able to say, yeah, so that being competitive in life is not about just beating other people, but it's like, and looking at your business and how you approach that is really this idea of helping other people, not trying to, you're not really even competing against anybody. You're just you're being successful by putting out a great product for that helps people.
Exactly. Yeah. No, definitely. It's an interesting mix, because I try to have definitely my life has changed ever since I started racing again because of how competitive I am, and how much I now refound the love for the sport. Sometimes I get cranky when I don't ride or when I can't fulfill my training plan, or if something gets in the way of me, like which I have addressed with Coach Todd, and Coach has been like super amazing on helping me find the balance mentally between those things. But it's hard for me to accept that, when I have to give up a ride because I have to be at work. So now the script has sort of switched on me, as far as, so I'm trying to find the balance competitively to, give my business as equal time as I am putting out on a training for the week on the bike. But I'm not taking any shortcuts on either of them. So I'm still managing, so
No,
but
and you're
it's
doing,
hard,
yeah, and you do an
super hard.
amazing job. And I think we all get cranky as people that want to train
Yeah,
and compete, and we
yeah,
don't want to line up with thinking that we didn't do what we could have done, and
right.
those are
Uh,
those are always tough days, man. And I think I
yeah,
know I go through. I mean, if something gets in my way, and I'm swearing at myself, and or if I sabotage myself by by
yeah,
oh, why didn't I just change the tire last night, or why did I stack so many
yeah,
appointments so close to each other? There's no way I can make this now, and now I'm cranky, and we tend to take it
yeah,
out on people. But it's part of finding that balance, and sometimes just finding a
yeah,
chance to breathe and say, okay, it's one day, it's only one day, and it'll
yeah,
be okay. And
Well, and that's, I
yeah,
think, and Danny, I kind of want you to talk a lot about this too, but I don't like to tell a lot of people this, but Todd's been coaching me, and the only reason I don't tell people that is because I don't want people to judge Todd by my results, because I don't think that's fair to Todd. Because
jeez.
yeah,
but imagine how much slower I'd be if it wasn't for that. But all the times that
yeah,
that you run into those things, and having somebody aside from the efficiency of time that comes out of it, because that's really amazing, and that's one piece of it. But also the when you run into those frustrations, being able to tell somebody that and talk to somebody who kind of gets it and works you through it
yeah.
is gigantic. I mean, gigantic.
It's
You get so
huge.
busy, right?
It's unbelievable. I mean, I think if Coach Todd didn't have that understanding, number one, and I don't think our training plan would be successful.
Right.
And I think a lot of people will benefit from a coach like Coach Todd because of his understanding around that.
And I think a
So
lot
he's
of
been a
people.
professional. Yeah.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
didn't mean I think a lot of people
No.
don't understand that
Yeah.
piece of it either. Because I remember the first time before I started working with him, I referred a friend of mine to him, and I knew he knew the stuff when it came to the numbers and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's what a lot of people think of when they think of a cycling coach is, oh, the numbers and the
Yeah.
data. And that's what's really important, obviously. But I knew my friend also needed that other piece, right? And when she started working with him and she ran into some of these things, and she was talking to me about, oh, I missed some stuff and I was flustered about this and this. And I talked to Todd and he was great about it. And at that point, Todd and I weren't real good friends. I mean, we knew each other, but we weren't that close at that point. And I remember texting him and saying, thank you. Like, that's it. Like, I knew you could do the other thing. I didn't know him well enough to know he could do that part. And that part's that's what
Yeah.
puts it over the top, right?
Yeah. No. I mean, that's why I have, that's why I work with Coach Todd, because he has given me that feedback when I'm going through those tough moments mentally. Just having him there, a phone call away, he's always available to talk about any of that. And I think we've had a number of conversations around switching up the schedule because I couldn't train today and I had a really important ride or workout session and couldn't get it done. And we speak about it and I get frustrated and angry, and this got in the way, and he finds a way to calm me down and just let me know there's a lot more to it than just that one day of training. So when you hear that from someone that knows how to be a professional, I think that's what makes it worth it. So,
Well,
um,
I appreciate you guys as always communicating, and I think it's one of the keys too. And I tell people this a lot is, the people that communicate the most do the best, and it's because it's really about collaborating with you and learning you and what works and understanding. It's like, and honestly, 25 years ago, I probably would have had a lot harder time, but I was pretty strict on myself about like I don't miss stuff, and when I would
yeah,
train and do things and understanding that just it came to me by life happens to you and you're like, what, it's you gotta. I think I look at it a little bit like it's like kickboxing sometimes. I don't know if you ever took any kickboxing from anybody, but I did for a couple of winters, which I really enjoyed, and I picked up some good things from that. One of them was with kickboxing is you're always moving off of something that happens. There's really nothing
yeah,
that you're trying to pre-plan in it necessarily. You have things you want to do, but it's every plan is as good as the line of departure, right? And as soon as you
yeah.
take off, everybody else is implementing their plan, and you have to adapt. So it's a
Right,
lot like bike racing in that you can have a strategy, but then somebody else is trying to implement their strategy, and if you're not adaptable, you're not going to be able to come out on top. And I always look at I think training the same way is that we know things are going to
yeah,
happen, but we have our map and we're going from New York to San Francisco. We know basically the route we're going to take, but we know there's going to be detours, and we're going to find those ways around, through or over, under, whatever we got to do to get around those barriers, and just
right,
adapt and work off of it. And um,
right.
and I think when you come at it with good time management and you're committed to the process, and I think the whole thing falls together then and comes together, and not by accident, but
Yeah,
by plan and by commitment and making it happen. So it's a two-way collaboration, and it's good
yeah,
communication. So
yeah.
um,
You do the back end. We have to put, uh, our legs, just pedal and
yep,
make the training plan you set forth work. So,
yeah.
um, someone
So
always has to be willing to put in the work in order to be successful. You can't just pretend you're gonna get a training plan or for a project in business and get it handed to you, and no, you have to work for it.
yeah,
you
there's
know.
always there's always
So
the work aspect, right? And I laughed the first time I got a CompuTrainer. Oh man, probably like 17 years ago or something now. And I remember when I bought this CompuTrainer, and a couple of people said, "Man, you're gonna be flying now." And I was like, well, I still got to do the work, and I really can't do any
yeah,
more work differently than I was. I could just measure it then. No,
yeah,
I wasn't able to measure it before, and I'm like, well, now it's just going to make it better. But it's not like I wasn't doing it, or I bought the CompuTrainer, or I buy a new bike, and that's what's going to do. You still got to do the work,
yep.
when it comes down to just
And
realizing you got to do the unpleasant things.
yeah,
So
and I think consistency. I think this year, for me, I think what's made a difference that I've been sort of more of a threat to other guys that race. It's actually like crazy that with everything I have going on, managing a business, full-time dad, husband, um, still having the time to like be really competitive against the top guys in the country who
yep.
do this for a living is actually pretty crazy. So like if I can do it, I think anybody else can do it. It's just finding I look at it this way: the day has 24 hours. You have 24 hours to manage, and it's up to you how you get it done.
Yeah.
Um, I actually say 14 because I like to take, if I can, between 9 and 10 hours of sleep a night.
Yep.
So I have 14 hours, and that's how I divide up each day. And
Yeah.
I think everyone has the time for a lot. It just depends on, what you do with the time. So
And it's an important aspect too is when you say you like to get like 9 hours of sleep, and I think it's lost on a lot of people, and it was lost on me for a lot of years, and even though I kind of knew better, and then I'd overload my schedule, and it was especially bad when I went to grad school because I was going at night and working during the day, and I was still trying to race my bike, and then I wound up sleeping like 5 hours 4 hours, and
yeah,
you don't realize how much it affects you and hurts your performance until you stop doing that. And so like I
Yeah.
was actually, got into my 40s and started getting better numbers and training better because I was recovering because I was sleeping like 8 hours a night, 9 hours a night.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
That.
you know,
I
Yeah, I
think
think
that's one of
that's
the most important part of training is
yep.
rest.
yeah, that's huge. I
So
think people think it's like a tough thing to like try to sleep is, run on little sleep. Like you're not tough if you're not sleeping little or whatever. Especially more than 6 or 7, 8 hours, but it's huge, it's gigantic.
Yeah, and
yeah,
I think it almost
and
becomes
for
like
a
a
lot of
society thing, right? Where we almost brag about it, like,
yeah,
"Hey, I only
Right, right,
slept like," it's like it's not good. You don't perform well.
right.
right.
It's, you
And
know.
in life in general, if you don't get enough sleep, you're not gonna be you. So people when they get when they have a lack of sleep, it affects everything. It affects the way of thinking. How much energy they have throughout the day. I mean, it just
Yep.
affects everything. And
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think to me, it's the most important part of training because what we put in between an hour and a half and 2 hours on a daily basis on average. In the
right.
weekends, maybe a long ride. Um, but what do you do with the rest of your time? And I think that's what really matters. Because you could put in a killer training week, but if you put in, which is another key thing, which is nutrition, if you put in bad food and you don't rest well, then guess what? What you put in out on the road is not going to really matter when you go out and compete. You're not going
No.
to be efficient on the bike. So
Yep. Dude.
those little things matter.
Yeah, and it's not even those aren't even like marginal things either. Those are really significant, and I try to emphasize that a lot to people. Rest is training too. And I said another guy I'm working with, and we took a rest week last week, and said he's like, "Hey, I think I really need it." I'm like, "Yeah, you did. Been a lot of hard weeks, and it's not just the
Yeah,
mental part of just saying, hey, I'm gonna catch up with some other things, and it's gonna be okay, and I'm gonna come back stronger if I can get this rest and let my body
yeah,
assimilate all the things I've been putting it through." Um, that's when you
yep,
grow. You grow when you rest. The training's breaking you down. The resting is what your growth is coming from.
exactly.
So,
Yeah,
um,
that someone one day told me, which I've been using that for a very long time, and I've sort of been applying it now that I've been racing again, and it's the analogy around or the metaphor that your body is like a vehicle. You drive it every single day nonstop. Guess
right.
what? The car's gonna break down at some point.
Yep.
The car needs rest, but it also needs maintenance. And maintenance for me comes in, getting a massage here and there if I can. That's how what I like to call changing the oil.
Yep.
And just sort of it rejuvenates me. Amongst other things that I do, whether it's like, instead of a massage, go to a yoga class, something that provides wellness for me.
Yep.
Because that's what I think of my body as being as like a vehicle.
Right.
And the gas is for me the nutrition I put in my system. If you put regular gas forever, I mean, they say that you put good gas in the car, the engine runs cleaner, and I think your body will do the same if you put clean food in it. So,
Yep.
um, yeah,
Yeah, it's
so that's
definitely.
how I like to think of that.
Yeah, the older I get, the more I realize the food is so important. I feel
It's
like
so
crap if I
important.
don't eat. When I was in my 20s, I just ate garbage all the time, and it was like a same thing
Yeah,
with like sleeping. It was like, I can eat whatever I want, sleep whenever I want, no big deal. I can get away with anything. But it's like, nah,
yeah,
that's not how it works. It makes a huge, huge difference when you take the time to do it right.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. And
So,
and for folks who work full time like we do, and try to have try to do a sport and be competitive, I think that's key if you really want to be successful.
Yeah, and I do think
You
too.
have to, you know.
Yeah, and I think it's not just being older. Like I think it's everybody. It's just sometimes you're not smart enough to realize it till you're older. Like I think I'd have been way
Right,
better off in
exactly.
my 20s if I'd have paid attention to it.
Yeah,
It wasn't like I was getting away with anything. I just convinced myself I was getting away with these things, right?
yeah, right. You
right,
do.
right,
You
right.
do. So, so what's
I
coming
mean,
up, Danny?
for example, Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Coach.
No, I was just saying just wanted to kind of grab onto what's coming up for you and in the coming weeks here. So we got some rather cool stuff coming up really soon.
Yeah. So, man, I think I'm so excited. Well, I've been so excited for this year, but primarily this summer. I'm super excited for it because next up I have Reading Radsport in Pennsylvania. It's a Criterium Pro 1-2 race in Pennsylvania. I think it's like $10,000 for the Pro 1-2 race, which is huge. You don't see those type of numbers nowadays. I never done Reading, but I'm excited for it. They made it a big deal to provide a call up for me and do a brief sort of background on how I've been doing this year to sort of nominate me to that, which is pretty cool. And so now I have radars from guys that I don't even know. So Reading is coming up this weekend. I am also, then after that, I'm traveling to Panama to do a super cool race. So it's literally 4 days of circuit racing. So like crits around Panama City, which is super cool.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, so it's from August 15th through the 18th. So it's 4 stages. Technically, it's like 80K crits. Kind of like Somerville, if you guys are familiar with that race.
Yep.
Or the audience hearing. So like Rochester crit, just like 4 days back to back, in different parts of the city. So I'm excited to do that. And then right after Panama, I'll be guest riding for Butcher Box, pro cycling, at Electric City Festival in, I think, Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Right.
So I'll be doing that on the 24th of August, and then so
now when you
next few weeks.
When you guest ride for Butcher Box, are they going to issue one of those cowboy hats that all those guys are wearing all the time? Like, do you get one as part of the team?
So.
You should demand one.
I think so.
Like they always got
sort of. They made them part of the team, so I think
Colin always has one on his Instagram story. I don't know what the story is behind the cowboy hats, but they look pretty cool, and I think you should definitely get one.
Yeah, no. If they provide me with one, I will definitely wear it, and I will be, taking pictures of it for sure. It's a pretty cool thing. That team is pretty cool. They have a great group of guys. They get along great, and they've been super successful this year.
They're exciting, man. They're good for the sport. I love them. They're fun to watch. They're clearly having fun. Yeah, they're good stuff.
Yeah, they're making, it's super young energy with their team. Is not like any other traditional cycling team. They're all about having fun, and they're super competitive, and they're really good guys overall. So
we had a good talk with Steve Cullen earlier this a few months back. I don't know if it was this year or was over the winter at least, but we kind of got some good insights as to what he's trying to do with that team, and it's been fun to watch that team since then too, and having a better understanding of kind of what's underpinning it, and so it's cool, and I think it's a really cool, exciting opportunity. You getting to ride with them a bit here and seeing where that goes. I mean, certainly on a lot of people's radar now, which is fun too. So
it is. It's crazy how I didn't think that I was gonna take it this far when I started riding, because I was strictly doing it, like I said earlier, just for health reasons. But obviously the competitor in me was born again after I lost a few pounds and wanted to be competitive all of a sudden. But I didn't know that I was gonna be, getting the opportunity to, I guess, turn pro again. that was never part of my radar, but it's an opportunity that came up that I don't want to say no to, of course.
Right.
It's a big help. Mainly, as a freelancer like I am, racing for myself is like super difficult because there are those moments where, like, man, if I just had 15 to 20 seconds of help
Yep.
in for a kilometer or less, not even that, the last 2 corners of a crit, would have made the difference of me winning the race than getting 4th or 3rd or 2nd. So it's a pretty cool opportunity that I can have to save energy and literally launch my sprint, for all the races that they'll be doing next year, or that I'm used to doing, which is crits. So.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, awesome, man. Well, I'm glad you were able to, out of your 14 hours, that you got one of them. We got one of them here, and I do understand your schedule, and it is crazy, and but it's a great story, and it's an honor, and it's fantastic to be able to work with you on this stuff, and just seeing you just get on people's radar, just constantly threaten all these big races against the fastest guys, and breaking through and being able to get some opportunities with some teams now is cool too. So so bigger and better, man, and I'm looking forward. I mean, we still got some good races yet, and summer is still not over. And then later in November, there's the triple 100 in the Dominican. So
that one I'm definitely excited for. Which I think you, Coach, you might take that on too. Or
I got a very serious consideration if I can stay healthy here and not get broken again. Everybody taking me down and making my body here. The speed's coming up, so we're getting there. Training hard.
Fun race, and so I think it sounds good in November when it's like we're under a foot of snow here.
Yep.
We'll be racing our bikes in the Caribbean and maybe going to the beach after.
Oh, that
sounds pretty cool.
My language, man. Both
that
things.
Sounds awesome.
So awesome. Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you guys for your time and for considering me to be part of your program tonight. And really, thank you so much for everything, Coach, you have done for me and my training program. And this speaks a lot on how successful you have converted my career in such a short amount of time.
Well, it's certainly my pleasure. I appreciate it. So, all right, man. Well, we'll talk soon, and as we always do. And we have some big races coming up, so let's kick some butt, man.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. You guys have a great night.
Good luck, Danny. Thanks, man.
All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye.